What You Missed When You Didn't Exist. I am Corbett, and I am 53.
And I'm Lucy, and I am 23. You gotta get the 3 out there faster, Dad.
We got the rhythm.
Do we, though? You, paused, and you had to make sure that you were 53.
I always have to guess what age I am.
Maybe I need to start going first, and then you'll know, oh, right. I'll just add that number at the end of my number.
No, because it's going to change halfway through the year, and it's going to be dumb again. But today we're talking about What You Missed When You Didn't Exist. We talk about everything that happened between 1970 and 2000. 30 years of times where you weren't around and I was. This time was phones. The biggest breakup ever.
J-Lo and Ben Affleck?
Different and much, much more national. The breakup of the Ma Bell system completed in 1982. Started in 1970 something, 72, 73, 74. Divestiture.
So close.
They were a conglomerate, a massive, massive phone system that was all the same company. And you probably have, I bet you and all your little young friends have no idea what it's like to pay a long distance fee to somebody who's outside the city.
Outside? Oh, I thought you meant outside the country.
No, outside the city.
Oh. Yeah, probably not.
we had long distance fees. That was one of my dad got really upset at my brother because he was using the modem for the first time in the 80s. You know, the squealy old connection.
Oh,
but back
I've heard
then
of it in movies.
You dialed up and got to it.
Wait, you had to dial up for the phones?
Yeah.
I thought you only had to dial up for the internet.
That's how the internet worked.
Phones aren't connected to the internet? What?
No, that's the thing. Originally, the internet worked on the phones.
That's dumb.
You're telling me. Anyway, So when you're on the phone, if you're on the internet, the phone didn't work, vice versa. Or if somebody called when you're trying to download something, that would mess it up. You had call waiting. But you had to pay money for call waiting. So that's crazy talk. He had dialed to bulletin board service for a computer that was in, I want to say it was in Longview, but it might have been in Dallas. From Tyler to Longview is about 35 miles, 40 miles.
Wait, but why did he need to call a bulletin board company? That doesn't make any sense.
Okay, this is the way the internet worked before there was really an internet.
Okay.
People would put their computer on the phone.
Yes.
And people would dial into it, connect, get their mail and message system, and download it, and then you had it. And then, the next day you would call back up and upload any mail you needed to go out.
Okay.
So I guess I'm giving you a lesson in the internet before it was really the internet. Only the universities had direct, constant internet feeds that were back and forth with one another. That was going to become the internet the way we know it now.
Yeah.
But this was the phone system way of doing it. You would throw on your modem, dial to the place that has a computer, you would connect to it, download whatever you needed, and then you were done. You would get your mail and upload your mail. And email was a little more of a packet system handoff, kind of Pony Express style.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, it was the days of the Wild West for the internet.
Okay.
But Ma Bell controlled everything. So my brother was paying for, long distance fees every time you called anywhere outside of the city. Or even on the other side of the city sometimes. You have to pay extra fees for that. You had to pay extra fees for everything. And you didn't have a choice. Because there was only one company, Ma Bell. In the 70s, there was a hearing about it, and they broke them up. I think this is just happening to Google right now, actually. Where Google's considered this conglomerate controller of all search engines because...
So it's a monopoly thing.
Right.
Because, Ma Bell was a monopoly, and they couldn't have the monopoly.
Right. They controlled every phone everywhere. If you went, this was kind of one of the funny things in Stranger Things, and I was like, that's not the way it was. I get that they were just doing something for familiarity, and oh yeah, she has a phone and an old corded phone. She has to go get a phone. You didn't just go buy a phone. You went to the phone company, told them you needed a phone. There would be a guy who would come out, install the phone, and put it in. And she had the RJ11 connectors, which means nothing to you, but it's the phone plug that you're familiar with now. But back then, the phone plug was this big square with like 4 prongs. I mean, it looked really crazy
Well,
comparatively.
okay.
But before that, I mean, things were just wired straight into the wall. When you ripped the phone out of the wall, it was broke.
Oh,
A
that's a bummer.
little bit. So you didn't have the ability to just go to the store, buy a phone, plug it in, and like, I have my phone. After this breakup happened, they started putting out like, you can get this cool football phone or banana phone or whatever, things that were in the shape of other things as a phone. And people were
Yes.
like excited because they weren't the Ma Bell. The Ma Bell phone was the black, sitting flat, the thing you've probably seen in every movie from the old days.
Now, the old days are like my old days or like your old days? Because
Probably more
those
like
are some
your
old
old days
days.
when you see somebody pick up a phone that has a handset and a cord going back to the phone, like a curly Q
Yeah.
cord. The ones for my old days were the you pick up the earpiece and then hold up the handset piece or the mouthpiece to your mouth and click on there and like, hello, Klondike 471, I've got to get a connection.
Okay. Okay.
No, I didn't live through that, but it's just funny. But no, the phones, the olden phones were corded, and you were it was a magical moment when you could make changes to those too, because for the longest time you got their phone and that was all you got. There
Hmm.
was no changes. Anything you did that would mess it up would break the phone. And I know there were lots of girls who got upset because they would twist and twist and twist the phone cord until it broke. And then they had to call the phone company to send out a guy to put in another phone.
Oh, yeah.
I
That's
mean that
annoying.
that is be pretty bad. When the breakup happened, it also made it to where you get modular cords, so you could have like a 25-foot corded cord and walk from one room to the other with your giant corded phone.
That's ridiculous. How would it wind up?
Well, it didn't wind up. You just untwisted it
So
as
you
much
just
as you
had a
could.
giant cord hanging off of your phone? That's like a tripping hazard.
It was coiled. It kind of retracted a little.
Maybe.
But I mean, that was also about the time when change happened on the phones to where they had push button phones.
Hmm.
Those phones were rotary dial before that. I don't know if you've ever used a rotary phone. I don't think as many weird old things as I've dumped on you. I don't think I've ever had you use a rotary phone.
I think I've seen it like in museums where they do a play area and they'll like show you like this is what a phone is. And I
Meh,
think I've played with it a little bit, but it didn't make any sense that it would rotate to one side and then it would like flip back.
yeah.
Cuz like why didn't you just go like to one spot to the other spot to
Well,
the
it's
other
not a
spot?
combination lock. It would just
Well, it
basically,
should be. It would make sense.
but you would just put your finger in the number, pull it all the way back to the dial like stopper. Like your finger
Mhm.
stops, it won't go anymore, and you let
Mhm.
it go, and that dials the first number, and then you click on you put your finger in the hole for the other number you need, and pull it all the way back to the stopper, and it would spin back just like you described.
Mhm.
So now you know how to use a rotary phone very vaguely.
Great. Excellent.
Well, it was pretty rough. Although I don't remember like the long distance number stuff. It was about that time too when area codes started becoming more and more changed. Because like our area code changed at home 775 to 413 or no, I'm probably mixing up my numbers. Area codes are starting to change. There were more and more people because as the 70s progressed, from the 70s to now there's been twice as many people born on the earth.
Yes.
Congratulations. So with that many people, there's more phone numbers, and the area codes had to go up really quickly.
Yes.
And that's also wasn't long. You know this from history. Wasn't too long after that, like about a decade, that wireless phones started appearing. You
And the
might know them
bricks.
as cell phones.
Yeah, but there was like the brick phone. That was like the actual size of a brick.
Yeah.
And it had like the giant antenna that
Well,
was
I
like
do know you
10 feet
are
long.
familiar with the wireless home phone, because we had one, but
Yes.
also because that was like the most common thing they had in Friends. I know you love Friends.
They didn't have a wireless.
Yeah, we had a wireless phone.
No, in Friends.
Yeah, they did.
They didn't get a wireless until like season 6 or something.
No, that's like season 2 when Phoebe's on the phone with the company that will answer their call because she's the next in line, and she literally loses her mind.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You're right. No, you're right. I forgot about that.
I think that whole series was pretty much a wireless phone, but
I feel like, yeah, but in the first season, there's that scene with Rachel trying to like walk through the kitchen, but I thought it had a wire on it, but I guess it probably didn't.
maybe.
But
So anyway, you know what the wireless ones looked like, and those were amazing and new and fancy, but the wired ones were
yes.
pretty much still standard up until about 1980, probably 85.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't see really wireless ones, like home wireless ones, until, I know it's about that time. I mean, they started popping up because once people could make their own phones, companies started pumping them out all over the place. And phones
Yeah.
went from being very expensive to pretty much free. So cool. It was just the services that cost more, and people were trying to get phone fees and phone cards. For the longest time, I'd have to go buy a phone card to make calls home when I wasn't in the state.
Oh, yeah.
And it really, really wasn't until cell phones. Once cell phones took hold and people realized, like, well, I could just have my cell number be anywhere. So why does it matter what long distance number is if I'm, not there? Who cares? So
Yeah.
they kept trying to use like minutes and time fees and everything, probably up until 2000. I want to say 2008. 2008 or 2010, and then basically free long distance came with every cell phone after that. Then there was no more long distance anywhere. Everybody was at the touch of a button. Then it was just out of country fees, which I think still exist.
Yeah. You have to pay for like a different SIM card
Yeah,
if you're going into a different country.
that was the way it was. So how are phones in the future? You got those
Well,
holographic ones yet?
actually, they are in the works. It's pretty fancy. Actually, I don't know if they are in the works, but I know they're working on a holographic screen for computers. Like it would be a holographic desktop screen.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, I've seen
that
some
should
of
come out
those.
within the next couple of years, which is
Mm.
so crazy. So maybe we'll have chips in our heads pretty soon to do some phone stuff. That could be fun, just like in Wally. It seems weird to me because it feels like there's a monopoly on phones, but also I always get like I just meet new people every day that don't use mainstream phone services and mainstream phone things. So it just always boggles my brain. But phones are a necessity now. And it's kind of weird because since I moved down to the big city, right, I always thought that like homeless people would have nothing. Like they have clothes and they're trying to get food and that's that. But I always see homeless people always have a phone,
Hmm.
which is confusing because like why would you have a phone when you're trying to figure out how to like eat food and have a home and do all of that? But you need a way to communicate to people no matter what situation you're in.
I think there's shelters and places that supply phones for homeless people, so that way they have ways to get a hold of emergency communications and health needs and stuff like that. Basically, they can be reached if they need to.
Yeah, which is awesome. And it's so crazy.
Well, I mean, I don't know. The other way is just implant them with a chip and hunt them down when you need them, I guess.
Oh, God, that's terrible.
A little bit.
But having a phone is nice, and I think it's interesting now because in 80s movies you would always see that one person that's on the phone for like 5 hours and
Yeah.
then you're like trying to place a call to someone else and you just end up listening on their conversation because you can't have the multiple lines at once. And now it's still kind of people just need their phones. They need to use it to communicate, and it's just awesome to see humanity at work. I guess because we are creatures that need to communicate and creatures that need to bond with other people, and we're just finding different ways to do that, and phones have been the latest vehicle of doing that, which I think is cool. But I didn't know about the Google monopoly. That is pretty fun
Well,
ish.
people just feel like they have too much control over the way the search engines work because their search engine does something. But there are other search engines, so I'm not sure really the details of that. But
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see if they break up. But I mean, they have enough independent companies inside of them; they could easily be multiple companies.
Yeah, I think the world would shut down if they lost Google Drive, Slides,
Hmm.
Sheets. It's just so convenient.
I will admit Google is a monopoly in the sense that when people tell you, they don't tell you, hey, go look that up on the web. They say, hey, go Google that, because
Yeah,
it's a verb.
it is a verb. It is in the dictionary.
Yeah, it's Google. Go Google it. Go Google it. Google, Google, Google. Sound like a turkey going off there. But yeah, I wonder. Yeah, maybe that is the way it's going to be. The internet will break up, and then it'll get more independent and cheaper and easier to deal with, or free, even better.
Maybe.
I mean,
That could be
technically,
interesting.
if phones are a human right by proxy of homeless people having it, then technically the internet probably should be too.
Yeah, but then you're going to get into the problem of like children having phones in school because in middle school, phones are banned.
Mm.
You can only use it like at the end of the day when you are waiting to hear from your parents and trying to like pick them up, deal with them, whatever. I'm guessing the same goes for elementary school. High school, they're more lenient because it would literally be impossible to ban anything otherwise, but I think it's just dependent on how censorship continues, which will depend on so many other things.
Yeah, you're probably right there. Hmm.
Phones are fun. I kind of miss landlines. I feel like they're a fun concept. I feel like we're so detached from our homes now because we don't have like a thing keeping us there.
Well, we kept a landline for a long time just because we really were trying to be cautious about getting you kids phones when you were first, old enough to have them. But
Yeah.
then we realized it was just easier to give you the phone because we could contact you, you could contact us. I mean, in general, it was a distraction too, but the convenience of knowing like where your kids are and where and when you can get them and where to go, very handy.
Yeah. Well, and some parents take that way too far, and some parents don't, and
Yeah.
it just depends.
But we had the landline for a long time because it was just, I think, well, I took you and the other boys to go visit the police and go visit the fire department and go visit all these places. Like, these are important people that have to come and help sometimes. And this is the thing that brings them.
The phone is the thing that
Well, you
brings.
dial 911, and I had to walk through all that and make
Yeah.
sure like you knew like this isn't a toy, it's a thing that we have to use to get help when we need it.
Yeah.
And that I didn't even have a cell phone for a long time just because there was just a time in my life, in everybody's life at one point, old wise, when you just waited until you got home and got messages off the machine or from anybody else who took the message if anybody was home.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a time when there was no answering machines.
Oh, wild.
Now they just call you and it's just in the middle of the day, breaking up everything, messing with your head all the time, emotional stuff flying everywhere.
You can just put it on Do Not Disturb, kind of helps.
Then what's the point of the phone if you don't answer it?
Because then you can look and check your messages.
There you go. Just put the show on Do Not Disturb. Because this has been what you missed when you didn't exist. I'll see you next time.
Bye. Use your phones. Call your loved ones.